The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And it's Monday.
Yes, it is. It's Monday after a holiday week.
After a holiday week, everybody's all stuffed with turkey, and they're all trick-to-fanned out, and everybody's just trying to recover now and get their body and metabolism back.
Yep, and tomorrow is the 1st of December already, which means we're 25 days away from Christmas, 24 shopping days, and well, we'll see another layout towards the end of this season like we saw Thursday. You know, I honestly cannot believe the people of Fall River. You know, they had big signs up at the Walmart that said, store opens 1 a.m. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, people were lining up outside the Walmart for Black Friday specials. Hey, guess what, people? Those Black Friday specials were available online 3 days before.
Yeah, and I think, well, from what I've read, I read one article that said Black Friday was a tremendous flop throughout the nation.
Yes.
They sold about 3% less, which translated into billions and billions of dollars. They took a loss. And, you know, well, it's not a loss. I mean, they made billions of dollars. But, you know, but in comparison to last year, people are spending less. Gee, I wonder why. You know, I wonder why, because, you know, we're looking at the tax rate being approved in this city, and so we are a microcosm of what happens on the national scene. You know, the middle class in this country is being eliminated. People are sick and tired of taxation without representation, and you know that's the reality of what we're facing here again. And I will make a bold prediction. You know, Rob Million will probably be at the council meeting telling everybody how keeping the tax rate on businesses lower than the residential taxes will save all our businesses, when we see businesses going out of business all the time, because that's what he gets paid to do. Okay, he doesn't live in the city. He's making well in excess of probably of $100,000 a year, and he's there shilling for his chamber, saying, "Oh, keep our costs down, and that's why we'll stay in business." No, you won't. You can't stay in business, because the fact is that small businesses, especially small businesses, because they have no margin for write-offs because they're making profits in other areas, you know, they live and die by the consumer. If they don't have customers, they don't have a business. We've seen how many restaurants go out of business, how many, you know, I mean, even Remy's has already changed hands. We predicted that when it opened. But the fact is, this is what we have. And that brings me to something that, you know, I really have to say, because I've always said that, you know, words are merely labels, and it's all based on perspective. One man's terrorist is another man's patriot, and as they say, one man's meat is another man's poison. But you know, we hear the term negative and obstructionist so many times applied to anybody who has a different opinion. You know, so I just think what they're doing is wrong. I won't think it's negative, but I do. If you want to use that label, I think what the city council does is negative. Because when you continually just tax a population that you have to know cannot afford it, it's negative. Because those people will now not be able to spend money in businesses. It's negative on the businesses. And shared sacrifice if the businesses don't pay their fair share, if the nonprofits don't pay their fair share, and they continue to talk about, well, we're looking at the nonprofit, oh, but we can't do it to the nonprofits. Bullshit. Come on, let's go. The fact is, Charlton Memorial spent over $1 million on a lobby. Their board of directors makes in excess of $100,000 to $200,000. And virtually all of them don't live in this city. But they can't pay for services? They can't pay? Is it negative? I think it's the most negative thing that we see in this city when our government, our legislative body, pretends that they have our best interest at heart and then ignores the fact that this community is one of the lowest paid communities. We have the second lowest household income in the state. Geez, how many times do we have to say that? Steve Long read that. I read it, I don't know, 25, 30, 40 times in the last 2 years. CJ, I don't know. The fact is that I read these statistics, periodically, and frankly, I'm tired of it because apparently nobody cares. Nobody listens to that council. It's going to be the holiday season. They'll be giving out candy canes or something like that, and with the tax rate. But the fact is that there's a total disregard for what they're doing to the people of this city. We have only 37% of the people in this community that own property, and I'll say 50% of those people are on a fixed income. Many of them are retirees that can't afford to sell their house, take the massive loss, and get out of town. But I guarantee you that there will be a big, big debate about not raising taxes for the businesses, and who cares about the taxpayer? Nobody. I'm going to read you a quote, and I think it's really accurate. The way to crush the bourgeoisie, which is the working class, the bourgeoisie, is to grind them between the millstones of taxation and inflation. And that was said by Vladimir Lenin. And I know everybody's going to say I love to quote communists, but the fact is that it's the truth. This is exactly what's happening to the people of Fall River. They're being ground down between an inflated cost of living and taxation.
Chip, that's a good lead-in, because my article, which I wrote yesterday, I didn't write yesterday, it was published yesterday by CNN, was "Welcome to the People's Republic of Massachusetts." And I said, remember to bow down in front of your local elected officials, and be sure to salute Sikal, the governor. I'll tell you, that has gotten hundreds of thousands of people who have read it. It reached over 100,000 people in less than 32 minutes. 32 minutes. And we're not talking Facebook. I haven't even looked at the counts there, because I really don't care too much about that. But when you post it on that, and you are able to put these stories out there, and you see the number of people that come in and say, you're absolutely right. But remember, I'm negative. As you said, I'm negative. And also I love being compared to a child sex abuse scandal. It's like, it just gets to be so amazingly funny that you have to just give up and say, I can't deal with these people anymore, because they don't want to care.
It's their defense mechanism, CJ.
Right.
They condemn people who carry a message that they don't like. It's always been like that.
That's right.
First they condemn, then they attempt to eliminate, and then ultimately some people, you win the battle. But you got to realize this catch-22 that we're in. Lenin was right. The fact is, you look at this box we're in between inflation and taxation. So now we raise the property taxes on the property owners, and we raise their fees. Now they raise their rents.
Right.
Now they raise their rents, so that's inflation for the people. So now their cost of living goes up, and their taxes go up,
And they don't get a cost of living increase.
And they're boxed in between these two, and then they wonder why. And then you got Million going, oh, just reduce their property taxes for the businesses. Well, shit, by the time they get through, there's going to be nobody's going to have 2 dimes to scratch here. I mean, you wonder why we can't, the only thing we have in Fall River are Chinese restaurants and pizza joints?
Yeah, well,
I mean, it's like, look at it's incredible. Take a ride 15 minutes up the road to Taunton, which is about, what, a quarter of our size, maybe a third now, because we've lost a lot of population. But they're about a third of our size. Take a ride down Route 44, Route 140, and look at the restaurants in Taunton. I mean, there's everything. There's more restaurants than you can, there's everything. There's Mexican restaurants, Italian restaurants, American food, you name it, all kinds of chains. Why? Geez, I guess it's because maybe people they actually have money to spend. They can't figure out why Fall River can't. Oh, no, it's the taxes. Keep the taxes low on the businesses. No, let the businesses pay their fair share, because the reality is this reduction hasn't worked. Guess what? Newton and Cambridge have a higher business tax than we do, and Newton has 10,000 more businesses than we do.
And remember, Cambridge and Newton also offer their property owners who live in their property a rebate. They give them money off their taxes.
And by the way, they also have a lower tax rate.
Exactly.
And by the way, the tax rate, if you look at the tax rate in proportion, not their number, because this is the trick they're going to use at the city council meeting. New Bedford's got $17 and ours only $13. So look at New Bedford. Well, no, New Bedford doesn't have the storm water fee. They don't have the trash collection fee. But also look at the ratio of income to tax rate. If you take Newton's income to tax rate ratio and compare it to Fall River's income to tax rate, we are in the top. Because the fact is, the average household in this city is making $31,000 to $33,000 a year, and the average household income in Newton is $113,000 a year.
Right.
So it's like, well, guess what, people? Numbers don't, like you say, they keep saying they use numbers for their own to justify, their position. The reality is, listen. Don't give me the number. $13 to people who are making nothing is a lot of money. $13 is a lot of money. Now, if I'm wrong, I want you to tell me why a city like Newton, which has about 2,000 less people than Fall River. Now listen to this, I'm going to say it again, and you can look at the United States Census Bureau statistics on these. They have 10,000, not 100, not 1,000, 10,000 more businesses in Newton than we have in Fall River. Why? Robbie Million. Why? Why is their Chamber of Commerce up there so happy? They're drinking all the eggnog already. Tomorrow's December 1st. They got the eggnog cracked. Everybody's partying in Newton. Why? Because everybody up there makes a lot of money. And they don't have a hell of a lot of public housing up there either, by the way. Newton doesn't import people that don't make money. They cater to people who have a income that allows them discretionary cash. That's the reason that Newton and Cambridge have thousands, not hundreds, thousands of more businesses than Fall River. And that's why you look up the road to a city that you technically can't even compare, but they will. They'll compare Taunton and a few smaller cities, but they have to be within our general size. But you look at Taunton and look how many businesses there are in Taunton in comparison to Fall River. Look at how many restaurants. I mean, like I said, all you do is you don't even go into the Taunton Green. Just drive, get off the highway, get off Route 24, and drive 140 in either direction, a few miles, and count the restaurants, and then get off on 44 and drive in either direction a few miles and count the restaurants. It's not rocket science, people. What it is our government ignoring us again. Am I optimistic about this new city council? Well, I have to be truthful. I'm not. But I'm going to give them their chance. But they're going to already have, the excuse, because the lame duck council is going to be talking about this. But let's see what happens, because, we're looking at this city to change, and, I'm tired, frankly. We have a new mayor, and we're all going to be looking at him really closely to see what happens. But you know something? I'm tired of the city council getting off the hook for everything. They have done it for years. They are accessories before, during, and after the fact of the demise of the city of Fall River.
They created it, and they perpetuate it. And by the way, according to the tax factor proposal sent to the city council by the current administration, a lame duck mayor, it will be $17 and change per thousand. Hey, we got to be up there with New Bedford. Now, the city council can change that factor. And the higher the factor goes, the lower the tax rate is for residences, and the higher the taxes go for businesses. So let's see where the city council, because we know they're a bunch of clowns, and more particularly, Linda Pereira, Ray Mitchell, I want to see how they vote. Are they going to vote it up or down? Or are they going to go for the 1.0 factor? Because
$17 is what our tax rate now is 13
and change.
13 and change.
Yep.
That's a $4 increase.
Yes.
That's maybe the largest increase we've seen in proposed increase in I don't know how long. that would cripple. I can tell you right now, I know at least 10 people off the top of my head that will lose their house the day that tax rate is put into effect.
And that will be tomorrow. Tomorrow.
And that's just.
And it has to happen tomorrow.
And I guess that's Sam goodbye.
Yeah.
You know what he said to the people of Fall River? You didn't elect me, I'm gonna tuck it to you. See you goodbye. I'm gonna tuck it to you, because I don't care what the tax rate is, because I'm getting a pension based on my top three, which is like $175,000 a year. So you do the math. 80% of $175,000. And I don't care what the tax rate is, because I make a lot of money. I'm one of the 1%ers. And that's the problem in Fall River. But the biggest problem is, it's the 99%ers
that pay the bill.
That pay the bills, but they're not gonna, let's see if they rise up. Let's see if they rise up, because you know something? They've been ignored, they've been abused, and we tell them this, and you can lead a horse to water, you can stick their head in there, but you can't force them to drink. But the fact is, listen, there's got to come a breaking point. This is a break. This is unconscionable to me. The fact that he could try to jump the tax rate up like that, and then they're going to talk about New Bedford again.
Well, and the reason why they're able to do this is because the levy is set by the state, and there's an actual formula to use to create that. One of the things that increases the levy is new buildings, new construction, new growth, they call it. And that new growth can add on extensively to the levy. Well, guess what? That new growth is that we got to pay for, but they don't have to pay for. One of those new growths, Amazon. The Amazon warehouse is a, million square foot capacity building. There's a tax figure to that.
Yeah.
And that's put into new growth. And so because of that, the levy is higher. But the thing is, when you give away TIFs like candy, hey, Linda, your TIFs, Linda, Ray, your TIFs, Jazel, your TIFs, remember these? Yeah, your TIFs bring no dollars in, no tax dollars. But we got to pay for it as the property owner.
Yeah, well, the other problem we have here is in that formula, there is no factor for taxes that aren't called taxes. that we have. And that's one of the major problems we have in Fall River. Because Sammy Boy liked to talk about New Bedford, but as Jazel said in one of the debates, they don't have a stormwater fee, they don't pay for bags, they don't have a trash pickup or collection fee, which is a tax. We have all these taxes that are really taxes that aren't considered. So Fall River every year is well in excess of 2.5 because of the way they do it. And now they're moving that money, which, by the way, I have to go back to the thing that we tried to get the people to get upset about and do something about them putting money in to an enterprise fund, which then creates a tax, and we could then actually do an underride, and maybe this will come to fruition now. But it's all these factors, and as I said, and it's just the blatant manipulations of facts, the total lies that the city council and the half-truths that they tell you. They're going to give you the New Bedford pays $17 and Lawrence pays this, and yeah, well, guess what? I don't care what they pay. Do they have bags? Do they have these fees? What's their standard income? Yeah, Lawrence has a lower income than us. That's true. But the fact is, you notice that they love to compare us with the other crap holes. It's true. When it'll benefit them, when they're looking for a pay raise, they'll look at the pays that they get in Newton and Cambridge when they want a pay raise. But when they want to raise the taxes, they'll look at the crap holes that only know how to get money from and bleeding rocks from taxing their people. Now, they're going to talk about New Bedford. They're going to talk about Taunton. Who knows? They're going to talk about cities that don't even belong in the mix because they're nowhere near our size. But they won't talk about the top 2 cities that are in our group between 100,000 and 75,000. They won't talk about the top 2 cities because those top 2 cities have lower tax rates than we do. And they don't have fees like we do. And they have a lot of money. And they don't have a lot of incomes, low income. They don't have to give TIFs to get businesses in Newton. People have got money. They got all kinds of discretionary cash. Businesses are fighting to get into Newton and Cambridge. They don't have to go, they don't have to beg, they don't have to market, they don't have to do anything. They're banging the doors down in those communities to get in. Why? Because people have money. But our city council is going to give you a line of bull that's so high, if it was bricks, we could build a chimney to the moon and have bricks left over. And the reality is it's all crap. And thank you, Sam Sutter. I'm so glad we voted you out to do this to the people of Fall River. That's the final slap in the face and showed you're nothing more than a yuppie who doesn't care about poor people. And I'm sorry, but that's the truth, at least in my opinion.
You know, Chip, it's amazing the stuff we see, the stuff we hear. You know, you and I go through this on a daily basis, and we do get frustrated. We do get to the point where we say, why bother? You know, I had said last week about the Amazon deal. The governor spoke on it, for his work incentive, whatever it is. I can't even think of the title anymore. But one of the things that got me was that Amazon was the linchpin across the state for his package to bring workforce development throughout the state. And then Amazon came forward. Now remember, Amazon only has warehouses. They don't produce anything. Okay, well now maybe they do with robots, but that's another story. But they said, with the push that we're giving them type of deal, we're going to foster software development, engineers, scientists, and I'm sitting there going, and a skilled workforce, and I'm sitting there going, and this came from the Amazon director of public policy, and I said, really? This is what you think about the skilled workforce? Just put in warehouses? Because you're not going to use any of those other services. Not like Fall River could really work in that market, because Novo Nordisk said it. We're going somewhere else. You guys can't even give us the workforce we need to do this, because you, the workforce, you, the people of Fall River, don't educate yourself enough to provide these services. Talk about the workforce all you want in Fall River and the work ethic, but that I can't speak. That work ethic does not apply today because we don't have the industries you're comfortable in. And that's the big problem we have. We no longer have manufacturing jobs. And what few we do have are getting stretched. And we cannot support a manufacturing industry in this country, never mind in Fall River. And that's one of the biggest problems we have.
Well, the other problem that we have is that, as I said, the burden of taxation is put solely upon the residents of the city of Fall River. When we look at well, number one, I believe at one time, I would have to get the study done again, but we had at least 50% of our land was non-taxable.
Right.
It was either public or it was nonprofit. Therefore, so we don't have so number one, our tax base is diminished because a lot of the buildings aren't even taxable. But then if we look at it, virtually no one pays taxes.
Right.
I mean, if you're a business, you get a lower tax rate, or you either get a lower tax rate or you get a TIF so you don't pay any taxes for a while. Or you don't pay your taxes at all and you get in arrears. How many people were in arrears of their taxes? How many businesses were in arrears of their taxes? And the fact is that they talk about shared sacrifice. You know something? This has got to end. It has to end. Because I'll tell you what, if this tax rate goes up to $17, a $4 increase, that would be catastrophic for some people. And I don't care what kind of line they give you, the people should be storming City Hall. They should be down there tomorrow talking about it. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm going to go up there and read the statistics again to these people who totally ignore it. No, well, you know something? Like Bonaparte said, fear and self-interest, two levers that move men. Well, maybe after you get your tax bill, and it'll be too late then, after you get your tax bill, I'm sure the people of Fall River are going to be extremely upset. But let's do something preemptively from now on. And you know something? Maybe this is the straw that broke the camel's back. We've gotten rid of 3 mayors in less than a year. We've changed 3 mayors. Maybe now, after this catastrophe that's imminent tomorrow night, we can begin to do the same thing with the city council, because maybe we can put in 8 or 9 new people every 2 years if they don't do what we want. Let's get some relief for the taxpayer. Lenin was right. You know, we are caught between the millstones of inflation and taxation, and the only people that are bearing that burden are the lower and medium income people in the city of Fall River. The people who work for a living are the only people getting hit. Rich people don't care, and people on welfare don't care. So if you work for a living and you're watching this program, you better get real angry tomorrow night.
Tomorrow night at 5:30, City Council Chamber. That's where the tax factor hearing is going to be held. And I'm going to tell you now, I don't expect a lot of people out, Chip. You know why? They don't get up off their fat backsides to do anything. And that's what happens in Fall River.
Well, you'll hear
Nobody
a lot of
gets
screaming
upset.
when the bills come out.
And then it's too late. Then it's too late. And like Sean Cronin said in his response to us, if you don't like it, file a lawsuit. But guess what? I'm not going to help on that one anymore. I'm not doing it. I've put in a lot of work. I put in a lot of effort, and nobody cares because I'm just negative. Hey, you know, it gets to be very difficult, but you know what? We're still here, and we'll stay here. Thanks for watching, and have a good week. Stay angry, and I hope you're out tomorrow at the City Council hearing.
Stay angry. Du bist Deutsche.
Craziness, Chip, craziness.
Time for a revolution again.
Yeah, well, we'll see.